What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be about my top 5 favorite must-draft defensemen. There are some very good value defensemen this season, so this is going to be a video worth watching. But before we jump in, make sure you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to follow us on Twitter at @fantasy_puck for daily updates. If you want access to our premium tools, projections, our draft sheet, trade analyzer, and more, head over to our Patreon. Without further ado, let's jump into the top 5 must-draft defensemen. We are starting this video off with one of my favorite defensemen this season, Evan Bouchard of the Edmonton Oilers. There was so much to like from Bouchard's first full season. FP Don noted very early on that Bouchard had an excellent preseason, and all reports were showing that he would fill Edmonton's top 4 role. Soon after, Bouchard found himself skating on the top pairing with Nurse and even spent time on the Oilers' top power play unit when Barrie was injured. We won't know until early October, but as it stands, Barrie is still the likely candidate to quarterback the top power play unit, but he's on very thin ice. Although Bouchard may not be on the top power play unit, he's still likely to skate on the top pairing. Last season, Bouchard played a total of 1,600 minutes. Of those minutes, he skated 568 with McDavid, or 35%, and 478 with Draisaitl, or 30%. In addition, Bouchard was one of only 5 defensemen last year with at least 40 points, 200 shots, 80 hits, and 100 blocks. Who were the other defensemen, you ask? Cale Makar, ever heard of him? Victor Hedman, how are ya? Chris Letang, and Mackenzie Weegar. There are many positive signs here for the 23-year-old entering his second full NHL season. On Yahoo, he's defenseman 24 off the board, and we have him as our defenseman 11. This year for Evan Bouchard, if he can steal that power play 1 role, 15 goals and 60 points are on the horizon. Moving on, the next defenseman that I'm going to be drafting in all leagues, and you're probably going to see a lot in this channel, is Miro Heiskanen of the Dallas Stars. I thought he was poised for a big season last year, but overall, he disappointed most people who drafted him. Just 36 points in 70 games, and he didn't really contribute on the peripheral side. 156 shots, 92 blocks, and just 56 hits, all about league average or just a bit below. If you watch my Bounce Back Players video, you know that I'm anticipating big things for Heiskanen this season. MoneyPuck introduced a stat called share of possible ice time, meaning the total amount of ice time a player plays on average relative to a full game. Heiskanen last season ranked 15 at 41% possible ice time, far and away the most on the Stars, and this should only increase this year with John Klingberg not on the Stars anymore. Speaking of Klingberg, his absence now opens the door for Heiskanen to quarterback Dallas's 9th ranked power play. This increases his ceiling a considerable amount. Klingberg has recorded at least 15 power play assists in each of the last 6 seasons, so we can safely assume that Heiskanen's power play point floor is around 20 points. Although Heiskanen has yet to reach the 40-point mark in his career, the 23-year-old is looking to carry Dallas this season offensively and defensively. 15 goals and 50-plus points are definitely in the realm of possibilities, with his ceiling being even higher if he can find success on that top power play unit. We love Heiskanen again this season, and at ADP 100 and defenseman 19 off the board, you can snag Heiskanen in the 7th or 8th round. He can end up as a top 10 defenseman. Up next, another defenseman that I'm extremely high on and I want to take everywhere is Noah Dobson of the New York Islanders. Dobson is just 22 years old, and in his first full NHL season, he finished the year with 51 points in 80 games, including 22 power play points, 190 shots, and 154 blocks. An outstanding year from the former 12th overall pick on a team that really limits players' offensive ability. It's pretty impressive for a young defenseman to put up such a high-scoring season despite playing the Barrie Trotz system. With Trotz now out of New York, we can only expect a coaching change to boost the offense. Dobson had one of the highest jumps in minutes last season, partially due to injuries on the back end, but he did raise his average time on ice from 16:24 in 2020 to 21:28 in 2021. A lot of 20s, I know. I can't see his minutes taking another big jump, but it's important to note that Dobson led all Islanders defensemen in power play time on ice at 210 minutes, over 150 minutes more than the second most. In his first full NHL season, Dobson ended 14th in defenseman scoring, 9th in defenseman goals, 15th for defenseman shots, and 9th for power play points despite playing 300 less minutes than all other defensemen ahead of him. He has top 7 defenseman upside this season, and at ADP 95 and defenseman 17 off the board, Dobson's one of the best defenseman values in the entire draft. Can we talk about how many times I just said defenseman in a row? And it's not really going to change for the rest of this video, but we're moving on to a much more low-key defenseman. I'm all over Hampus Lindholm this season. Traded to the Bruins to bolster the defensive core last season, he's now in line to be the #1 defenseman for at least the first half of the season. Both Charlie McAvoy and Matt Grzelcyk had off-season surgery, and the expected recovery time for both of them is 6 months and 5 months respectively. McAvoy is the clear #1 defenseman in Boston, playing over 24 minutes per night and racking up 56 points last season, while Grzelcyk is more of a power play specialist, playing 19 minutes per night and racking up 24 points last season. Lindholm should fill the void left by these defensemen and will likely be the first pairing and power play 1 defenseman until at least December. The Bruins may be depleted in the early going, but they still will be very competitive. We're projecting Lindholm to play McAvoy minutes, so just around 25 minutes average time on ice, and have significantly bumped up his point totals, which can vary depending on the timetables of McAvoy and Grzelcyk. Over the last 3 seasons, the Bruins rank 7th in the league for power play goals, but with no Marchand or McAvoy, we can safely assume they'll be around the middle of the pack. Lindholm's ADP on Yahoo is 146, or defenseman 40 off the board. This would be his ADP if the Bruins were fully healthy, so he's one of the bigger steals in the draft as defenseman 40. With the uptick in minutes and point production, we currently have Lindholm ranked as defenseman 18. Alright, we are now at the final must-draft defenseman for this season, and it's going to be a good one. Thomas Chabot of the Ottawa Senators. First, I want to say that I literally cannot wrap my head around his ADP. At 114, Chabot is 8 spots behind Heiskanen as defenseman 27 off the board. Please, 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 please take advantage of this. Chabot is a #1 defenseman who will have every opportunity to succeed this season. Remember when I mentioned share of possible ice time stat? Well, Chabot ranks 2nd at 43.3% behind only Seth Jones, not to mention his 6th ranked percentage offensive zone start at 19.4%. Despite injury last season, Chabot managed to score 38 points in 59 games, adding just 13 power play points, 173 shots, and 73 hits. This was the 2nd highest point per 60 pace of Chabot's career and the highest shot rate of his career. Now add DeBrincat and Giroux in the mix, we can only assume that his offensive numbers are going to rise. The Senators are legitimate contenders this season, and Chabot is going to play a huge role in their success. Over the last 3 seasons, Chabot has averaged over 26 minutes average time on ice, giving him one of the highest floors amongst defensemen. He does have some injury history, which is worrisome, but we're still projecting Chabot to play in 71 games this season, and with that, in his projection, he's still grading out as one of the best value plays for a defenseman. In leagues with no block shots, Chabot is our defenseman 8 off the board. Our projections have him scoring 10 goals, 64 points, with 28 coming on the power play, 191 shots, and 88 hits. This may be a hot take, but Chabot's ceiling this year is close to or even exceeding a point per game. This all depends on the improved Senators team and if they can put all their pieces together. I love Chabot this season, and you can easily grab him in the 8th or 9th round for a 4th or 5th round value. Thank you for watching our top 5 must-draft defenseman video. If you enjoyed the video, click that like button, and if you're not subscribed, please do so. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.